Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of Teen Mom 2 Season 8, Episode 9. So let's jump right into it. The episode kicks off with Jenelle on a phone call with her mom, Barbara, about pulling Jace out of school in order to travel with her to, I believe it was New York. And so Barbara was like, okay, when's this trip? So Jenelle tells her, the flight is at like 1:45. So Barbara's like, no, Jenelle, he can't go. He's in school. And so Jenelle throws a fit about like the fact that Jace has to stay in school and can't just up and go to New York with her, for a meeting about like freaking like laxative teas or waist trainers. And so she tries to like make this like about Barbara keeping Jace from her and stuff. And she's like, no, the flight is almost at like 1. So like he would only be missing 3 hours of school. No, dummy. You have to get to the airport an hour ahead of flight, and then you've got to like leave time to get to the airport. So the child would have no use even going to school because he'd only be there for an hour. How dumb do you think people are? Then in the next scene over, we see that Daddy Cole has built a crib for him and Chelsea's baby, Watson. And I was like, oh, that's so cute that he built its crib from scratch. I really do wonder what it's like to date a blue collar guy. I'm always dating bougie white collar guys who can't like change light bulbs. So next up, Kail lets us know that she's running away to Hawaii to cope from the fact that Javi's back and destroying her strong, independent, single mom narrative. And then we move on over to Javi's family. So he's over on vacation with his family and Lincoln, and they're all sit down on the porch like with a cousin and a brother, and he talks about how sad it is for him to have returned from deployment to an empty home, and he starts crying, at which point his brother's like, Javi, I told you not to cry on camera. Like, you're letting her win. You know she was thoughtin' and bopping while you were deployed, and now here you are crying on camera, letting her win? Bro, stop it. And so Javi was like, it just sucks. It's so heartbreaking for me to like have an empty home and to lose time with the boys. He was talking about how much he really did love his family. And so his brother was like, listen, Javi, we all saw this coming from the very beginning. We just never told you because we didn't feel like it was our place to. And you guys, honestly, if my family member ever told me that, it'd be grounds for a beatdown. I don't beat people, but it would be grounds for a beatdown. You mean to tell me you let me get married to someone and have kids with them knowing that like there was like red flags that I was missing? You never warned me once. You never said a single thing. Screw you, meet me outside, fists up. One thing that really threw me off that scene was when Javi was like, I'm so sad, like we built an empire together. I was like, empire? Bitch, where? Like, what? Lip syncing to Drake on Snapchat does not an empire make, boo-boo. Next up, Jenelle and David meet up for pizza and discuss Nathan's most recent domestic violence arrest. And there was a whole lot of irony in this scene because first of all, Uncle Dave was like, oh my God, it seems like he's got a pattern of like abusing women. Pot, meet kettle, so do you. And so he was like, he's just a bad person. Like, look at his record. I was like, between the two of you, you've got enough mugshots to poster my entire apartment. Stop it. You're playing yourself. One thing I will say though is that Jenelle brought up a good point when she was like, listen, the weekend that he supposedly did this was the weekend that he had Kaiser. So I'm wondering, where the hell was my son while this guy was allegedly breaking into women's homes and choking them? Was he in the car? Was he off with his parents? Like, where was my son during all of this? So then she tells David that she wants to talk to her lawyer about this. And so next up, we see Leah talk to her mom about Allie. And then she calls Jeremy because apparently Jeremy had told her off camera that he might be coming in earlier over the weekend, I believe it was. And so she calls him to find out whether or not it's true that he is coming home early. And he confirms it. And he was like, okay, let's keep it as a surprise for Addie, okay? Now, Nathan met up with like that blonde guy that he's always hanging out with, and they talk about his recent arrest as well. And for some reason, like, he blames Jessica for calling the police. Like, he didn't really deny doing like what she's claimed that he did, but he was like, I don't know why she'd call the police. Like, did she understand how serious it would be for me if she called the police? I was like, ew, my skin crawled 1,000 times over. You guys, I swear to God, between Nathan and his friends, they have 1.5 brain cells to rub together because his friend's like, I don't even understand what the problem is. We were at a restaurant earlier and she came over to say hi to you and you just went over to her house later in the night. And I was like, is that what you guys told the police officers? Like, officer, listen, I met up with her earlier. It's okay to choke her. We know each other. What the heck was that? And so later on, Cole and Chelsea celebrate Aubrey's birthday, and he gets her a bow and arrow set that he tells her she would have to wait a little while to grow into. We also find out that sadly, Adam never called to wish little Aubrey a happy birthday. I don't understand how someone could just treat that beautiful, beautiful little girl like that. It's really, really sad and devastating to know how big of a piece of shit her dad is. And so moving right along, Leah takes Addie to Grandma Sandy's house. And y'all, when the producers showed that flip of Addie doing that backflip, I was like, oh my God, did she just snap her neck? Like, someone do something. That was so scary for me. And so over at Grandma Sandy's, Leah is bitching about the fact that Jeremy needs to push their meeting back like by 2 hours. It's like, Leah, this guy works like 12-hour days. He's commuting like from state to state to come over. If he needs 2 extra hours to, I don't know, rest, unpack, shower, eat, like, I don't know, situate himself. I don't understand why it's such a big deal for you, or why you and your grandma have to try and paint him as a deadbeat. Y'all know I don't even like Jeremy, but it was like, you are reaching. You are gonna break your arm reaching that hard, calling him a deadbeat because he needs an extra 2 hours before he could see his daughter. Like, come on. I know you don't understand what it's like to actually work, but for people who work, you can understand that people get exhausted. Sometimes you need a nap, especially if you're coming to see like a young child. You want to be like energetic. So I totally was Team Jeremy on that. Now over at Petty Betty's house, she lets us know that she and Javi had a long heart-to-heart conversation about their relationship away from the cameras. And so then we see them in the kitchen talking about how they're both coincidentally going to be going to the same Drake concert. And at that point, Kale asks Javi who he's going with. And Javi's like, oh, just a few friends. And she's like, oh, and your bitches? I was like, would you look at that? Another hypocritical Kale moment. This is like worse than the sweatpant thing. Like, remember the whole white boy haircut thing? And now, just a few episodes earlier, Javi had asked her what she was up to for the day, and she was like, I'm hanging out with friends. And he's like, oh, who? She was like, none of your freaking business. Now all of a sudden you could be a detective over your soon-to-be ex-husband's business. What the hell is going on there? So she's like, oh, like, are you hanging out with your bitches? Like, there's this girl you're always with on Snapchat. And so she pulls out her phone trying to show him the video. I was like, girl, you are a straight up stalker. At that point, Poppy shuts her down. He's like, listen, we already discussed that we're not going to be together. And then Petty Betty tries playing dumb. Oh, we did? Who decided that? I was like, Kale, you decided that. Like, do you not remember the way you treated him like complete and absolute shit when he came back from deployment? You wouldn't let him stay in the house to look at the mail that had accumulated while he was deployed. You wouldn't even let him throw out his garbage in the home. You wouldn't even let him stay in the guest bedroom while his apartment was being renovated. You bitched about his truck, called it a piece of shit you'd never buy, and just so many different things. Now all of a sudden you're acting like you wanted to be together this whole time. Is that really how you treat people you want to be with? Because if it is, child, it is no wonder you are single as a dollar bill and miserable as fuck. Like, you are you know what, let me not go there. Let me not go there. It is too damn easy, man. Not today, Satan. Let's move right along. So to shut up that conversation, Javi's like, listen, I'm not with that girl, but when I am with a girl, you're gonna be the first one to know, and I expect vice versa. And so Kale was like, no, I'm not gonna be with anyone. I'm asexual. And so first of all, let me just say, now that we know she's pregnant, that is so funny because she was probably knocked up at that moment. And second of all, the look in Poppy's eyes is the look of a husband who knows his soon-to-be ex-wife was thoughting and bopping behind his back. Let me put that photo up there so you know what I mean. Like, he was like, yeah, right, bitch. Okay, we're almost done, you guys. Stay with me. So next up, Chelsea and Chelsea Blonde sit down to talk about how Adam is a deadbeat, blah, blah, blah. Same song and dance she's been doing since we met her. And then Jenelle goes over to a custody lawyer to talk about Nathan's most recent domestic violence arrest. And she was going on a high horse, talking about, look, he just got arrested again. I'm the better parent. Like, can I get more custody? And the lawyer's like, listen, Jenelle, your own checkered past full of arrests might come back to haunt you. It's not going to be as easy as you think it is. Like, you are not, you know, Mother Teresa who just so happened to get knocked up by freaking Judas, okay? Like, you got a dirty past too, girl. And that really just humbles Jenelle. And like, that conversation just ends there with the lawyer telling her, listen, just lay low and let these things play out. And so lastly, the episode wraps up with Javi talking to a producer about his relationship with Kail and how Kail seems to want to get back together. And he's like, listen, I don't take her seriously. I know she was like hoeing around while I was deployed. Like, I can't get back together with her in good conscience. And like, don't forget, you guys, we saw him walk in on her with another man like not that long ago either. So of course he doesn't want to get back together with her. And so the producer runs and tells that to Kail, who's like, I'm not filming. No, I'm not filming. Turn it off. Get my mic off. I'm not filming. And that wraps up the 9th episode of the 8th season of Teen Mom 2. And guys, you know I'm dying to hear what you thought about it all. So as usual, leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below and we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, or follow me on social media where I do love speaking with you. And that's all for now. I'll see you next time, and thank you so much for watching.